Why should I accept your challenge?
You want to make me suffer.
So, it may be a bit weird that I'm doing this episode on events that happened in World of Warcraft, but trust me, they're relevant, I think. Alright, no plugs today, let's just go ahead and get into the fan art section. So, first we have this androgynous Suris by Baphomet, a tomato Suris that will suffer for hot sauce from Bill Sy, and a wonderful rendition of the Lobster Hierarchy from Plainly Colorful. Thank you all, as always, for your fan art submissions, and let's get into the topic at hand. So, as most of you are aware, I have a Twitch channel. I stream World of Warcraft over there, and I've been playing on the classic servers. Links to my Twitch are in the description. If you want to hang out with me over there, then please go ahead and hop over. I go live fairly sporadically, it's usually whenever my work is over, but I do make it a point to spam in Discord whenever I'm live. But something happened the other day, and it wasn't while I was live, which is unfortunate. This guy was spamming in the Looking for Group channel that he wanted to get people together for a biblical-based scavenger hunt in Stormwind. For those who don't know, Stormwind is the human capital city in Warcraft. For my audio-only listeners, I'll go ahead and read what he said. Praise be! One more spot just opened up for the biblical-based scavenger hunt in Stormwind. Each clue leads you to the tools you need to live your best life in Jesus. Please send Tell for an invite. You will have tons of fun with this. It is very cool. Now, this guy had been spamming for a little while, and I paid him no heed. I didn't really interact with him much in the world chat either. But when I found out that his group had actually filled up with people who wanted to do this scavenger hunt, I actually got a little intrigued. And since he mentioned that one spot had just opened up for this scavenger hunt, I decided why not, and wanted to go ahead and play along. For those who don't know, the largest group you can have in Warcraft is 40 people. That is, ironically, the size of a very small church. So I went ahead and told him, you know what? I'll bite. I'll join. To which his response was, it costs 5 gold to join. Which, if you've played classic World of Warcraft, you know is a hefty sum of money. Before you hit level 30, it's an accomplishment for some people if they can hold on to just 1 or 2 gold. Quests around that time normally give you a couple of silver, and you need 100 silver to make 1 gold, and you have to spend a lot of money on training and repair costs and other things. What I'm saying is, when you're low level in World of Warcraft, you're poor, at least in classic. So I decided to be a snarky asshole and respond, yeah, sorry, I'm not about to tithe in World of Warcraft. To which he responded, if you don't believe in him, that is your choice. Now, hold on a second. I had never actually said at any point during this conversation that I was or wasn't a Christian. Unless this guy somehow recognized me because my channel name is the same name that I go by in the game, then he'd have no way of knowing that I'm an atheist. So the only way that this person could have potentially figured out that I was or wasn't an atheist was by inferring that since I didn't feel like tithing him money, that I didn't believe in Jesus. Now, I've done a video before on prosperity ministries and the issues I have with them. That was actually a Dangers of Woo episode where I was talking about Peter Popoff. I at one point had planned on tackling more prosperity ministries, but I just never got around to it, and I'm not really certain why. But I'm getting off topic. Point is, this is essentially the same thing as running a type of prosperity ministry. Pay the church money, and the church will give you all of the tools that you need to live your best life. And so I decided to respond, why do I need to spend money to believe in God? Seems like your God shouldn't need cash, huh? All powerful and all that? And instead of holding the conversation further, he said, peace be with you. But my point still stands, I shouldn't need to spend money to believe in a God. And if your God is all powerful, he shouldn't need my money. And if he is all powerful, it's impossible for him to want my money, since if you're omnipotent, desire is an emotion you can't feel. I still hold the opinion that it's impossible for an omnipotent being to have desire, since by merely having desire, omnipotence would make whatever they wanted manifest, meaning that desire as an emotion with any amount of time attached to it could never truly be felt. Now, I recognize that there is maybe an argument to be made that your church leaders need money and therefore you want to donate to your church leaders. And that's a separate argument completely. I get that. So let's focus on why something like this would be happening in a video game. First, let's go ahead and establish the type of video game World of Warcraft is. This is a fantasy MMORPG, which means as a Christian, you're in a world where this is the thought that I have for you.
Look around you. Do you pretend that these things are not witchcraft?
Hell, World of Warcraft has its own gods, And at the end of the day, I don't see why you would be using this as a medium to evangelize to people. This is where legitimately wanting people to join your faith starts to reek a little more of scummy, slimy market salesman, using any and all available avenues in order to actually get your message across. He says, unironically, as he spams his videos on Facebook, Reddit, and Amino, but not only does a practice like this reek of salesman, especially considering that the evangelizing is coming at a cost. The only way you can play the game and hear about all the things that you need to do to be saved in the Lord is by paying money to the individual. Let's ignore the fact that an omnipotent God who desires these things, desires you to be with him, nonetheless seems to require human hands and human mouths to be his voice box. I would expect any autonomous and especially omnipotent being to be able to,
It moves on its own.
But instead, we strangely find ourselves in a world where people have to evangelize in order to get the message across. And whenever I or anyone else ask a believer why their God doesn't communicate directly any message that they want to get across, they say that they have. They did it thousands of years ago, and it was written in a book that was strangely fresh off the printing press 400 years ago, where we can find next to none of the original manuscripts and documents. And these cultural standards from several thousand years ago are supposed to be the best way that we can live our lives today, ignoring the fact that things like rape and slavery were excusable back then. It seems strange to me that any god of any variety who is omnipotent and all-knowing, and most certainly all good, would have allowed a culture like that, unless that type of barbaric culture is the exact type of culture that that god wanted. And then somehow thought it was okay for people here in modern times to ask for 5 gold on World of Warcraft so that they can hold a scavenger hunt about the Bible to evangelize. I don't know, it's a weird world we live in, especially when you consider that if you bring up the fact that the modern world has largely moved past a lot of the barbaric principles that are in the Bible. There are some, not all. I recognize there are some Christians in my audience that don't think this way, but there are most certainly some Christians who have this response.
What is this? Paganism.
Because how could you possibly have any type of culture that isn't derived directly from Christianity?
How can engines of the devil be physic, woman?
And if you are part of that culture, then you most certainly need to be saved, and strangely enough, in this instance and others, like Joel Osteen, that salvation comes at a cost, and that cost is monetary. And when you point out that your life doesn't have anything to do with God, or at the very least not their God, something like this tends to happen.
Nothing to do with God.
No, that's not what I meant.
Take her to the cathedral at Targo Vista.
There shall be an inquisition.
And given that we've already had the Salem witch trials, inquisitions, and crusades across time, honestly, these are some of the reasons why I have no issue arguing that we shouldn't give any type of judicial power to Christianity, or Islam, or any other religion for that matter, because when you do, this happens.
You may take some alms to she who was the wise woman of this village. Tell her that a good deed will, carry her into heaven.
I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm saving Wallachia from witches.
So, what's the point of this entire video, and why have I strewn a whole bunch of Castlevania clips into it? Well, 1, I think they help get the point across in many ways. 2, at the end of the day, I'm a nerd who likes philosophy, which is why I found myself doing this channel in the first place. So deal with my geeking! You made it this far into the video anyway. I assume that means you're able to tolerate my geekery just a little bit. I guess the real reason that I wanted to make this video was to bring up the issues with the topic of tithing. Outside of the argument of wanting to support the individual pastors and clergy that spread a message that you personally enjoy, I don't see the point, and I fail to see the need. An omnipotent deity shouldn't require it. I also don't see any reason for any government to view itself as the arm of any biblical law, since all that would do is just cascade us back into earlier ages of barbarism. A god shouldn't need your money. Moreover, it's really awkward that if a god needs your money, it must exchange hands with another physical, living, breathing human who is claiming to be an extension of that god's will. This is an issue that I find equally abhorrent when it comes from an individual asking money at the behest of God, or a government attempting to dictate law at the behest of God. Both parties view themselves as a mouthpiece, when in reality, they're both acting as something less than a puppet. Anywho, that's all I had for you guys today. This is the point where I unironically shill my Patreon, because why wouldn't I after a video like this? But I'm not going to keep you here too long. If you enjoyed the video, please hit like and send it to a friend. If you didn't, well, go ahead and tell me in the comments section. Hit the dislike button as well. Hey, share it with your enemies, make them suffer. I hope you all have a wonderful day. I have severe problems with tithing, and insert end of video tagline here.